God bless mom and everyone. So I am Jane Minyasa Bale from B.Ed first year. So this is my video discussion about the ethical philosophy of Saint Thomas Aquinas. Um, before that, let us define first uh, who is Saint Thomas Aquinas. So Thomas Aquinas is an Italian Catholic priest who belongs to the religious order of preachers or Dominicans and was born in 1225. Was born to an affluent and influential family and was died on the 7 March in 1274. Our present generation today is full of negativity that had led to negative impact towards ourselves and to the environment. So, Ethics of Natural Law by Thomas Aquinas, a systemic approach that is meant to guide human action. This is meant to guide humanity to in a good way to act in accordance to what is right. In et si Dios non deritor, the very principle of all things, or God, which Thomas Aquinas has faith on. He believed that all creature was made wonderfully from the source, which is from God. And according to Aquinas, a man can choose to act in such a way that is worthy of one's very reality, and that human is gifted with its ability to know the highest good. And we humans, that is what we ought to do, doing good and avoiding evil. So the reality then of life as growth, nutrition, and reproduction is founded on the will that is eternal. Man in his fullness shares life with plants and animals, but goes beyond them in his voluntary action and freedom in decisions. So those who come up with the expression of et si Dios non daretur do not advocate atheism or protest against the faith. They simply mean the deposit of knowledge or divine wisdom that comes to us as natural law is valid in itself and is therefore the reasonable code of conduct even for a man of goodwill who may be without faith. Conscience and natural law. So the ability of man to know is important in his or her acting ethically, and one cannot do the right if one does not know what it is. Even Saint Thomas is not an excuse about it. No, even if one does not know, he or she is still obliged to know what he needed to know, what he or she needed to know. So conscience is simply binds us in doing the good and avoiding the evil, and therefore can be mistaken. And being so does not exempt human for culpability. If she or he is able to know but fails to act in his or her obligation to do so, then he or she is not free from blame and responsibility for what was done. And these are the four kinds of conscience. So these are the callous, the perplexed, the scrupulous, and the ignorant. Given such a propensity to error of the human conscience, can we disobey the dictates of our conscience? Saint Thomas still insists, and absolutely not. And according to him, conscience remains to be our proximate norm that bids us to do good and avoid evil, act the good and shun the bad. So we have three contemporary questions, so relevant questions that can help to appreciate the domestic natural law, and it was originated from the writing of Alastair Mashater. So question number one, who am I? So the task of knowing the self is the point of departure for the task of building up the identity of the human person. Ethics for Aquinas is primarily a question of human identity. So all human acts are moral acts. The second question, who do I want to be? Ethical acts are uh, given direction through freedom to build up the uh, self towards a particular goal. So decisions are the basis of one's freedom in choosing what one wants to be. Given this knowledge of himself or herself and the ability to evaluate his or her options and possibilities, the self can also better give direction to himself or herself. And the last question is, how can I get there? The human person does not only access reason to assess his or her personal identity and personal goal. For instance, if one wishes to get to the goal of finishing a degree, one starts with the reality of the self, knowing what one needs to improve to support the goal of graduating. And furthermore, to improve, the self is not only a passive receiver of what transpiring uh, externally. One designs the path and cooperates with the situation to reach the end that has been reasonably set by the self. The relational imperfection of love in St. Aquinas. Domestic natural law is not Christian simply because it isn't it an ethics reconcilable or compatible with faith. It is a discipline system that guide uh, ultimate foundation and perfection in the reality of God. The independence that is given in the ethical order also allows the human person, in particularly, to be himself or herself as the singular subject that he or she is. One is not a robot who learns the direction uh, anything else and applies it to oneself to function as a tool for Deus ex machina or the God of machine. It takes process to process, and we all need a God in our life uh, because God is the source of the things that we have in this world, and we also have natural law. If you don't, if the non-believers doesn't believe in, I mean, didn't know about God, we still have natural law on earth that is also have an ethical values, know that what is good, what is right and what is wrong. So that would be all I can share for today's video discussion. Thank you and God bless everyone.